Hi there, my name's Dahua. I hear this all the time. What's the point of reporting people? The report system is broken. The report system doesn't work. I still get toxic players. I still get trolls in all my games. There's no point to this thing. The report system has a lot of problems, but one big problem is that a lot of people don't understand how they should be using it effectively. I'm going to explain everything that makes the report system work and not work, and I'm also going to be talking about when and how you should be filing a proper report. But first, what is the report system? What is the report system like? The report system is essentially a giant robotic social justice warrior. That's not an analogy, that's not a comparison, that's literally what the report system is. We have the technology and we made a Robo SJW. However, this SJW has the power to chat restrict and ban players. So the question is, how do you make this SJW do what you want it to do? How do you get SJWs to do anything? You gotta trigger them. Trying to get someone punished in League is the same thing as trying to convict a criminal in court. We check to see if they have a toxic history or if this is their first offense. We look at other players' testimonies and we judge people based on the harshness of their crimes. You see, the biggest trigger for Judge SJW is trigger words. There are certain words and phrases that will always elicit a response from Judge SJW. Here are some of the judge's biggest trigger words. Brain dead, inbred, faggot, homo, AIDS, cancer, fuck your mom, kill yourself, hang yourself, off yourself, and every single form of the word nigger. Contrary to popular belief, the system can actually sort out different versions of the word nigger. So if someone decides to put an exclamation mark instead of an I on their nigger, it doesn't matter, the system will catch them. Judge SJW recognizes all forms of the word nigger. It doesn't discriminate between different types of niggers. These phrases are what we would call slam dunk phrases, in that if they say them, they're almost guaranteed to get punished. Now, most players who flame don't really think too much on their word choice. They're usually just acting off instinct. But if flamers use different uncommon phrases, they are less likely to get punished. For example, I was recently told to open my eyes, you Asian fuck. But this phrase is not really reportable because every single word in this phrase is not a common or key trigger word. Open your eyes is not a common insult, it's only something that I get the privilege of hearing in game. Asian is usually a compliment. And fuck? Well, who the fuck doesn't fucking say fuck sometimes? Why shouldn't you report people like this? Because it affects your report score. That's the second thing that the system is most triggered by. Everyone has an invisible report score, and this is based off the number of previous successful reports you have made. Successful reports meaning people that have been punished by the report system. This is why you should report less. If you report players every single game, then Judge SJW just won't want to hear anything you have to say. You're gonna be the boy who cried toxic. By reporting less, you can gradually increase your report score. Now, the obvious problem with that is different ranks have different levels of flame. If there is an ELO heaven, I would say the closest thing to an ELO heaven would be around mid-gold. People are generally fairly nice, they don't take the game too seriously, there's not a lot of arguments. Anywhere can be considered ELO hell, but I would say the deepest and darkest ELO hell is around like Plat 1 and Plat 2. What I'm trying to say is the gold player is playing at an ELO where it's basically like Canada, and the Plat player is basically playing in Somalia, a place where he's very likely to contract AIDS. Now, what about feeders? What about people who lose you the game? Unfortunately, you just don't report people for feeding at all. Even if at the very end they basically gave up and threw the game, you still don't report them because it affects your report score. The only time you actually report intentional feeding is when it's obvious and blatant intentional feeding, like running down mid. It's not like anyone wants trolls not to be banned, it's just very difficult to distinguish them from just bad players. Even the best players in the world have really bad games when they get autofilled, same as any of us. If hard feeding like that became more punishable, we would just have ELO genocides. Bronze gone, just gone, all of them, all sent to ELO concentration camp. And slowly but surely, every single person would get banned until the last person playing this game would be fucking Faker. It can be frustrating when someone's flaming you, but the best response is no response. Because if someone is flaming you and they can't get a reaction out of you, a lot of times they will look to the enemy team for a reaction. You can potentially gain more witnesses to this person's actions and have more report testimony to add on top of your own. In conclusion, less reports equal more meaningful reports. But just because you have to report less doesn't mean you can't have fun with the few reports that you do make. He wished that I would get cancer. I wish that he would buy tank items. Told me I was inbred, potential Hitler youth. Compared me to niggers, doesn't think Black Lives Matter.